And our next guest here is Robert Boyce, ABC News contributor and the former chief of detectives at the NYPD. Robert, thank you for joining us. And I heard you talking about this subject earlier on Bourbon Street. Of course, those barriers meant to protect against an attack like this, they were being replaced. Construction was underway. They had some malfunctions in the past, so they decided to replace them with something new, but they weren't up yet, and instead put patrol cars to block the streets. Do you consider this a security failure for New Orleans?
Good evening, Whit. So the chief herself said the same thing. It's a failure. Their plan failed. And I understand that. You can do the best you can with your resources, but still things happen. So generally speaking, those bollards will do the job if they were up. But you also have to have bollards on the sidewalks. And it's become ubiquitous in New York. You see them everywhere. In 2017, we had 2 vehicle-borne attacks. You know, when on the west side of Manhattan, and then Halloween, 8 people killed, and then also Times Square in May of 2017, where a young woman was killed. And after that, we invested in our infrastructure, put up these bollards at key signature locations and sensitive locations as well. And it's a game changer. So the chief did the best she could with the resources she had. She put a car there that's dangerous for the police officer as well. And of course, there was a sufficient deployment there because they ended the threat as fast as they could. But in these instances, you really want to lock down an entire perimeter and keep everybody safe with as much as you can, physical obstacles as you can for these vehicle-borne attacks.
You know, one thing I'm thinking about is in the preparation for the New Year's Eve celebration in Manhattan, we saw those huge dump trucks filled up with sand that they would put in place. A lot of that coming after that Christmas market attack in Europe. What are some of the other options that a city might have if they don't have those bollards in place or an actual barricade that's functioning properly?
So there's barriers, there's cement barriers. I've even seen chunks of concrete out in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral before we put the bollards in. So those things all go to, to keeping people safe. Put them on the sidewalk, make sure a vehicle cannot get through there. That particular vehicle that hit these individuals is over 6,000 pounds, going at 40, 50 miles an hour. It's a deadly situation. So you have to come up with these things now. You see the chief had put in new stuff today, and that's good news. But you can set the best plan you can, and people will still defeat it. But you have to go every little thing you can think of, every little checkoff you can do. This is a very easy way to kill people for terrorists, this vehicle-borne attacks. It's in the ISIS playbook. Everything we've seen here, we've seen elsewhere. So this is important to understand exactly what we're up against. We have some big things coming up. We have the Super Bowl, the inauguration. All these things need to be clamped down.
Now, despite the ongoing investigation here, the mayor of New Orleans reopened Bourbon Street this afternoon. Does that timing surprise you?
No, it didn't, because now these things are up now. It's an economic generator for the city. I'm not surprised that the French Quarter is world famous. So you look at these things, it's going to open up just like the game is going to start. And because this was a single actor, this went a long way today to opening these things up and more security of that game, was that we have no other persons out there. This is the one individual who did this. He was radicalized somewhere. It's very similar to the radicalization I've seen in New York, a socially polarized individual with marital problems and money problems. They gravitate towards radicalization, but they're tough to figure out. It's hard targeting is how we stop these things.
What do you think law enforcement should take away from this horrific attack as they prepare for the Super Bowl and other major events across the country?
I think the takeaway here is ISIS is back, and it's more dangerous than ever. And they're reaching out, and we're having more and more problems. And so we can expect more activity. You see Europe, it's changed. We've had quite a few incidents in the fall, in the summer months, and now up into December at the Christmas market. So this is the new problem we have. These are a lone wolf, and what's the first thing they can do? They can go rent a car, and we make it very easy to do that. And they can pick their own targets. And they want to pick a sensitive, big target where a lot of people are going to be in the street. New York is that, and so is New Orleans, and other cities as well. And so these events have to be strongly policed with as many resources as we can give them.
Robert Boyce, former NYPD Chief of Detectives, thank you. We appreciate it.